This week in CIST 2612, we'll talk about Chapter 14, Report Writing for High-Tech Investigations. In this chapter, we're going to look at the importance of reports, the guidelines for writing reports, and also we're going to look at how forensic tools are used to generate reports. Okay, so the purpose of a report is to communicate the results of your investigation. And this also includes the expert opinion. Now, for a court's requirements for an expert witness report, it will have stuff such as your expert's opinion, the basis for the opinion, information is considered in coming to that opinion, any related exhibits, and any fees that were paid. Those will be considered to meet the court's requirements for expert witness reports. Now, what a forensic report can do, it can provide justification for collecting more evidence. It can also be used as a probable cause hearing. And once again, it can communicate the expert's opinion. U.S. district courts require expert witnesses to submit written reports, and a lot of state courts are starting to require these as well. One of the rules for the federal rules for civil procedures, Rule 26, requires submission of the expert's written report. And it's going to include the testimony that is based on sufficient facts or data, that the testimony is a product of reliable principles and methods, and the witness has applied the principles and methods reliably to the facts of the case. And you'll also have to specify the fees paid to the expert's witness for their services, and must also include any other civil or criminal cases in which the expert has testified. Okay, so this goes back to what we've been talking about, is to make sure that you document every step you take in your investigation, as it will be included in your report. You also want to keep a copy of any deposition notice or subpoena. So you can include the jurisdiction, the style of the case number, date and location of the deposition, and also the name of the deponent. And you can keep these in a deposition bank. So that's an example of the expert witness's previous testimonies. It's a library of previously given testimony, and law firms can access this. Now, generally, while the documents can be submitted electronically in many ways, the standard format for federal courts is going to be PDF. You also want to limit your report to the specifics. All your reports to clients should start with the job mission or the goal of your investigation. And before you begin writing, you should identify your audience and the purpose of your report. We do have a couple types of reports we'll talk about. The examination plan. That's a document that lets you know what questions to expect when you are testifying. And then they usually are prepared by an attorney. So what they do is the attorney will prepare these, as we'll see on the next slide. So in here, the examination plan, it gives the witness the factors for the witness, brief overview of the testimony, history, their credentials, how many years of experience do they have. For example, this one is how many systems have you conducted forensic exams on? What's your relationship to the client? The specific exam information. Also, the anticipated cross-exam for the expert attorney. So the examination plan, it also prepares the expert witness for for testimony on the stand, but it also helps the attorneys as it lets them get an insight into the forensic terms that they will be using. Another type of report is a verbal report. These are less structured and usually are going to be treated as a preliminary report. Some information on verbal report includes the tests that haven't been concluded, document production, depositions, written reports, or formal report. Now, usually these are used as an affidavit or a declaration. So for that reason, you should pay attention to details and limit what you write. But also make sure that you include thorough documentation to support what you write. Now, to minimize the chance of being deposed, you want to avoid producing a written report for as long as you can. All right, hypothetical questions, they're based on factual evidence. And they should include only those facts supporting your opinion or conclusion. They can be abused or overly complex, so that the finder of the fact, which is the expert, may not be able to evaluate the answer. There are also just state the facts needed to answer the question. Don't include any unnecessary facts in your reports. Now, as an expert witness, you may testify to an opinion or conclusion if the four basic conditions have been met. The opinion, inferences, conclusions depend on special knowledge, skill, or training. The witness should qualify as a true expert in the field. The witness must testify to a reasonable degree of certainty. And experts must know the facts on which their opinion or conclusions is based and must testify in response to a hypothetical question. So when you're writing your report, we need to discuss what's written, what to include in our preliminary reports. Now, keep in mind that anything you write down as part of your examination for a report is subject to discovery from the opposing attorney. So keep that in mind. And discovery, that's efforts to gather information before trial by demanding documents, depositions, any type of something that's interrogations where written questions were answered in writing under oath, and written requests for admission of fact. So all of this is subject to discovery. The written preliminary reports are considered high-risk documents, so it's better if no written report, if it's not written, if there's no written report to provide. And high-risk documents, a written report containing sensitive information. It could create an opening for opposing attorneys to discredit you. Now, if you destroy the report, that could be destroying or concealing evidence. So once again, it's better not to write the preliminary report. Now, in this case, it's among lawyers, it's called the action of destroying the report or concealing the evidence is called spoliation. It could subject to your client to monetary or evidentiary sanctions. Now, if you are writing a preliminary report, you should include the same information as in verbal reports. Some additional items to include in your report is summarizing your billing to date and estimated cost to complete the effort. Identify the tentative conclusion rather than the primary conclusion. Also identify areas for further investigation and get confirmation from attorneys on the scope of your exam. All right, so our report structure, then we should have an abstract. are a summary, table of contents, the body of the report, conclusion, references, glossary, acknowledgments, and any appendix as well. The abstract, what it does, it condenses the report to concentrate on the essential information. The body is going to consist of the introduction and discussion sections. Conclusions will start by referring to the report's purpose, state the main points, draw the conclusions, and possibly render an opinion. And the references and the appendix, they're going to list supporting material to which are referred back to in your report. When writing a report, you should consider the communication quality. Is it easy to read? The ideas and organization. Is the information relevant and clearly organized? Also, grammar and vocabulary. Is the language simple and direct? Also, pay attention to your punctuation and spelling. Are they accurate and consistent? Now, the report organization is very important. You should lay out ideas in a logical order and build arguments piece by piece. Group related ideas and sentences into paragraphs and paragraphs into sections. Also, pay attention to your writing style. You want to avoid jargon, slang, and technical terms, or you want to define the technical terms. So consider your audience. Consider your writing style. You want to avoid repetition, vague languages, generalizations. You want to use a active rather than a passive voice. Avoid presenting too many details and personal observations. You want to project objectivity, so you want to communicate calm, detached observations. Also include signposts. You want to draw readers' attentions to a point. So let you assist the readers in scanning the text quickly by highlighting the main points and logical development of information. Now, we do have two numbering systems are typically used in our layouts and presentation reports. We have our decimal numbering structure, which divides materials into sections. This allows the readers to scan headings and see how parts relate to each other. Then you have a legal sequential numbering, and this is used in pleadings, where the Roman numerals will represent major aspects, and Arabic numerals will have supporting information. Now, there are additional considerations about the layout and presentation of your reports, such as providing supporting material. So you would use materials such as figures, tables, data, equations to tell the story as it unfolds. Also, formatting consistently. So how you format your text is less important about being consistent in applying that formatting. Also, explaining examination and data collection methods. So you want to make sure that you explain how you studied the problem. And this also should follow logically from the report's purpose. Include calculations. So if you use any hashing algorithms, be sure to give the common name. Providing for uncertainty and error analysis. So you want to protect your credibility. You also want to explain results and conclusions. So explaining your findings. You may use subheadings to divide the discussion into logical parts. Also say broader generalizations and summaries for the report's conclusion. References. You cite references by the author's last name and year of publication, and follow a standard format when you're providing references. Any appendixes, you include those containing materials such as raw data, figures that are not used in the body of the report, and anticipated exhibits. Also arrange those in an order to refer to in the report. Now, there are some forensic tools you can use that will help you when performing analysis. Now, even though you can use those, it's still your responsibility to explain the significance of the evidence. Our general report formats will be plain text. You can use a word processor, spreadsheet, or even HTML format. Okay, so that takes us to the end of chapter 14.